I'd only been on one boat. You've been on 7. So I don't know how the Memphis ranked in terms of our tempo, but I felt like we did it. I did a lot.
You did.
And
you did.
I had amazing times. I multiple deployments, got to do all kinds of cool shit. And I remember part of the reason, people are like, look, if you're going to try to re-enlist or stay, that this is as good as it gets. It's just, you don't think you're going to get more of this, right. Are you? Right.
So this was your aha moment. The captain's mast, if you want to call it that. And then for people listening, a captain's mast is basically where you put a green tablecloth on the wardroom table. Wardroom is where the captain resides and hangs out. And that green tablecloth is a symbol of a legal
judge, jury, and executioner.
Right. So under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, a commanding officer can carry out non-judicial punishment, which is what you
in the brig with bread and water,
which is what you received. Not bread and water, but you received a pretty good ass chewing.
That was
right.
That was a pretty prolific.
But it wasn't. It wasn't
what I needed.
It wasn't loud and vociferous. It was pointed, and there were some pointed barbs that we wanted to get across to you that said, "Hey, listen, young man, you need to take your head out of your ass and come along." Right. So
I would like to think like you kind of had to be a little cocky and a little arrogant, especially on a boat like that where everyone was punching each other in the face sometimes, but like, I definitely needed to be humbled. That humbled the shit out of me. And to this day, like when I sit down and talk to my kids, I always remind them, like, you're not competing against anybody else. You're only competing against yourself. And that's where I learned that. And that was obviously from you guys. And then the other time was, there was another interesting time where, you chewed me up and spit me out, but then build me back up to make sure that I wasn't broken and that I would find some. You guys had a good touch, right? And I got hit twice.
Our intentions were not to destroy.
Were you the son of a bitch that had me failed on my board too, or was that my own doing?
Your submarine qualification warfare.
When I did my first board, I was ready for my board at like month 6. Remember?
Yeah.
And
you were a quick learner. You screamed through that qual card.
And I failed my board. And you have to remember, right? These are all these guys that I admire and respect. You're all my heroes.
I failed my first qualification board. Well, I failed my first quartermaster of the watch board. Seaborn McCrory failed me. But
there's reasons why, like I didn't know until later when they're like, yeah, Kirk, we just needed you to slow the fuck down and appreciate, the worst thing they could have done is let me have my fish faster to where I would have been probably even more cavalier than I was at the time. And that's the last thing I needed. Well,
so that's something that's not taken lightly, right? That warfare.
Humbling people.
Yeah, that warfare pin is earned. And there's a reason for it. If I can save your life, you damn well better be able to save my life.
Yeah.
And you've got to know that ship.
And when you get to the ship, that's people that don't know, when you get to a submarine, like they put a gun to your head. And they're like, if you don't earn your warfare pin, what do you have, 12 months, 9 months, whatever it was, then the worst thing imaginable is going to happen to you. And that is where we ship you out to the surface fleet.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the last thing I want.
Last thing you want.
So I was like, I will study everything. I had RPMs out all the time. I cranked for not even, I think I cranked 2 days.
Well, that's part of the reason why you probably failed your board, because you had a reactor plant manual RPM out all the time. It's not an RPM. I
had to stand everything.
You had the SSMs out. You had the ship service manuals out learning.
Were you there when I qualified Chief of the Watch as an E4?
Terrifying.
But I did.
You did.
But I only did it because an FT used to fuck with me and he was E6. And I knew if I stood Chief of the Watch that I could have a senior watch over him, and it was the only way that I could tell him what to go do after the watch.
Did you ever stand the watch?
I did. No. Actually, if you ask
I don't remember that.
So you were off the boat by then, but Mason was telling me last night, he goes, yeah, like the captain let me do that. And then he one day was like, have you ever thought about dive? And I said, would you let me do that? I mean, obviously I didn't qualify dive, but I did try. I stood some under instruction watches. But Mason he's like, yeah, I remember that.
Well, yeah, I mean, as much as we have a bad habit of eating our young and spitting them out like rocks from time to time, we really shouldn't do that.
No, it's actually pressure testing is what's necessary.
Yeah, but
I felt like you guys were pressure testing me and trying to condition me to emotionally be able to handle the magnitude of stress and pressure I'd be under based on the duties and responsibilities.
Well, that's the thing, duties and responsibilities. And you're responsible for the safety of that crew, no matter what, no matter how You can't think of it any other way. Once you get your dolphins, once you get your warfare pin, hey, you're the fish schnizzle. I mean, you're it, right? And you have to be able to apply that knowledge on those submarine systems to make the whole thing work, right? So the importance that's placed on any warfare pin is to make sure you know what the frick you're doing.
Well, it should be special.
And let's not hurt anybody doing it.
It should be hard. The struggle should be real to get it. You have to callous your brain and know a lot of stuff. And the crew has to trust you, right? And they have to respect you.
Yeah. So those couple aha moments that you had.
I had two big ones.
Still with all that and the training and leadership that you had, you still decided to get out of the Navy.
So it was under the advice of a chief. You know, when I was going to get in, there was a coaching and guidance that they gave me, and they're like, "What's your intent? What's your long-term objective?" And when I explained it, they're like, "Then this is what you're going to do." And I did everything they told me to do to the T, and I got out and did exactly what they told me to do after that.
You know, this is so. I've been looking forward to this conversation because you're. I know, right? You're the way you had those years on the boat, and I think you're probably on the boat, what, 3 years?
3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. I guess when I left the boat, I was hoping you were going to stay in because I had invested a lot in you, and I thought you would have stayed the course and stayed Navy. Thankfully, things have worked out to where, holy crap, look at you now, right? You're the CEO of Overwatch. You're have built a team of professionals and former veterans that's impressive, Kirk. And that you can't deny that, yeah, probably some of our tutelage of you along the way helped. But when you say, hey, when I got started out here, you got to come out and see it, it's all because of you. I can tell you, no, it's not. It's because of you. You had, in that brain of yours, I think you knew all along at some point what you wanted.